Okay, so I told you that I was making these phone calls till forever and calling all these people in my neighborhood and I'm in the business community. And I was saying to them, hey, you know, do you have do you have access to anybody? Here's the principle that I learned there that I talk about as we go into chapter 6. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes. I hated that lesson because I didn't feel strong enough. I didn't feel like capable enough. I'm about to go buy some coffee, but I just wanted to let me see if I can find it. So now we go into chapter 6. Let me read it for you because sometimes we feel like we we want to fix the problems that are with us, but we don't know how to do it because we're not operating with a map. We're operating like out of desperancy. We're operating feeling like everything's on fire. The employees are having a problem. Your husband's having a problem. Or your wife is having a problem. One of your kids are failing in school. The other one is having a tough time because they're being bullied. Like the story goes on and on. Your aunt has some drama. She's about to divorce her husband. You know what I'm saying? Like you're responsible for a lot of things in addition to, like at that time for me, or like now, I'm responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month. The truth of the matter is that after making those phone calls, I felt defeated at the end of the day. It was so hard. I felt so defeated because everybody was like, oh, well, if we hear something, we'll let you know. Oh, blah, 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 blah. You know what happens next? I'm about to end my day, but don't think I'm about to go home. I'm really about to sit myself down on this couch and cry. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to part 1. Go look for part 1 of this daily tea, because I'm going to break this down in 5 parts. Getting ready for the tour that we're going on in November, and there's a little bit of noise. Let me move this way. The truth of the matter is that I get a phone call. This guy calls me back. Now I didn't have a landline. I have my cell phone. This guy calls me back, legit, and he's like, "Hey, you called earlier," and I think he was a chair rental company or something. And he's like, you called me earlier. I got this couple who was here and they said that they were looking for an event planner and I gave them your name. And I was like, yippee! You should have seen me. I was like, like I was failing in these streets and this guy calls me and you should see me. I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And then I don't know what to do. So I get a sheet of paper. I'm like, what's their name? And he's like, well, basically, he's like, I'm not going to give you their information, but I'll give them. And he's like, if they call you, it'll be great. Oh my gosh. I'm like this, pacing the floor, oh. But I'm also hyping myself up because I've never had a sales call like this. I have no idea what to do. I don't know a damn thing about weddings. I don't know a thing. So finally, phone rings, or he passes on the phone. I can't remember this part because I talked to them twice. Either way, the phone call goes like this. They're like, hi, it's the woman. Hi, blah, blah, blah. Our wedding is in, I don't know, March 35th. And I'm like, great, March 35th, ready. We have an opening that day. And then I'm like, oh, but you have to come to us to talk. I mean, so that I can find out, blah, 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 blah. Can we have a meeting? She goes, sure, we can come next Tuesday at such and such time. I'm stoked. I have my first lead, which I didn't know was a lead back then, but it came from me just picking up the phone. I want you to get to this basic principle because regardless of how overwhelmed you feel right now and building, rebuilding, I don't care if you're running a $10 million company, it's irrelevant to me. This principle applies right now because I live it in my brick and mortar businesses, and with the team that I have to serve in my life. I live it. So the truth is that I these people say they're coming in on Tuesday, and you know what I do? I go to Barnes and Noble. I go to Barnes and Noble, and I promise you that I read the hell out of everything that is in Barnes and Noble, like forever. Every the Knot book, every wedding book, every destination weddings, like whatever it was, magazines. I just read them all. Do you know that you could become a 24-hour expert in whatever you feel the weakest in? Right now in your company, as you think about like whatever it is you've been trying to accomplish yourself, and maybe you're like, hey, we don't do digital marketing. Hey, my I have a lot of retention. I mean, I'm having a hard time with retention. We don't have benefits for our employees. I just had a client yesterday, not a client, but a woman yesterday reach out to us. They do a little over $1 million. They don't have no benefits for their employees. I'm like, you can't do that. Not in today's world. So the bottom line is that I made myself an expert in 24 hours. Now, I'm sharing this. Let me go this way. I'm going to take you this way because I got to finish telling you this before I go get my coffee. and it's hot. So I got to talk quick. She goes, she comes. Now, two things happen. Let me tell you what happens. First, um, two things happen. There's so much excitement happening in downtown Phoenix. It's amazing. Um, you never see, like right now, I wish I could show you, but the train guy has his hand out high. He's riding a train, opens the window to high five his friend that he sees. Just think of the train. Can we just show them the train real quick? I wish you could have seen it, but the train, the guy opens the window, high fives his friend. His friend raises up, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" That is the power of the fifth largest city in the U.S. Okay, now tangent. So when they come in, I have a clipboard. I have made up BS questions that I read in a magazine, and I put them on a sheet of paper, and I printed this thing. I called it an assessment. I say to the person, "Hi, such and such and such and such." Now, the truth is that I want to read for you how this goes, because the truth is that it is my confidence that allowed me for the rest of what happens to happen. It's possible that whatever is not happening, whether it's you getting in front of your team, you getting people to respect you getting customers to make their payments, whatever the problem is, you getting the right vendors, it could very well be because of the fact that you are not demanding the amount of respect that you deserve as a CEO, as a leader, whatever it is. So, D-Day. Now, I got to the shop a little early the next morning just to make certain that everything was perfect. At 10 a.m. sharp, the couple walked in. I greeted them with a big smile, big hugs. Yes, I hugged them because that's who I am culturally. Introduce culture into how you do business. On for another time. I was ready. For 2 hours, we sat together. Me, my clipboard, the notebook in hand, and then holding each other's hand, they asked questions, and I had answers. They asked technical questions, and I had technical answers. They asked the what if questions, and I had some of those answers. Like they asked me things like, what happens if such and such and such? And I'd be like, now for the majority of them, I'd be like, oh, here's what we do, because I had read it in those books. But for the rest of them, I was like, well, let me take that back to my team, and I'll give you an answer in a week. Now, whatever answers I didn't have, I promised that I'd deliver to them in a week. I knew exactly what I wanted. I had a clear goal in every move that you're about to make. Like, just think about the next 10 or 15 like moves. Real talk. Ask yourself, be honest. Like, do you have a real goal? Do you have a goal? Do you have a clear goal? Is it defined? Is it written down? I knew that I needed to make enough money to cover the next two rents. That was it. And I think for me that was like $10,000. Maybe not 10. But whatever the next 2 months worth of things, I needed to get as close to that as I can. So, um, first, I needed them to trust that I was a perfect match in helping them build the wedding of their dreams and do it within their budget. Second, I needed them to have a 25% deposit. Okay. Next thing, you got to collect money. You cannot just write contracts and not take money. At the end of 2 hours, I wasn't out of answers, but they were surely out of questions. You get it? I had read everything in those Barnes and Noble streets. I went for it and I asked them for the partnership. I had no choice. Now, I want to change this because in sales, a lot of sales organizations, and mind you, I'm now 20 years in the game. I've made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. I've built a lot of teams. The truth is that when it comes to sales, sometimes we hear that we're supposed to ask for the close and we're supposed to, do you want to do business with me? And all of those hard ways of closing, they work. For women, sometimes we're not aggressive. I mean, we are, but we shouldn't be. We don't have to be. So because we don't have to necessarily be, it behooves us to simply, like ask a question that allows us to feel like we're within integrity of who we are as a human and feel that we're in integrity with how we operate in our lives. So I decided to ask her this question, which was, do you want to become, can I be your partner? I promise you, at the end of the 2 hours, this was the craziest question, but I had to ask it. On my clipboard was an agreement for services that I had created the night before, an assessment and agreement. But when I say agreement, I don't want you to think it's some 7-page document. It literally says, yes, I want to do business with you, deposit, date of the wedding, signature. Like there were no T's and C's. I handed it to the bride. At first, they were silent for what felt like forever. And then the bride spoke. The bride spoke. She said something. And I was like, and you know what she said? She was like, she's talking to her husband or the sort of husband. And she's like, I don't know what it is about her, but I feel like she can help us. I feel like I can trust her. And I was like, and the truth of the matter is that to this day, I'll never forget the feeling of going, so is that a yes? You know? And her husband going, yep. And me handing them the piece of paper, them signing. I had made my first $2,500. It was my first time as a woman, as a human, but as a woman, correlating my value, my confidence in myself, just in myself, regardless of what team is or is not behind me, looking at myself as a CEO, as a president, and being willing to ask for a certain amount of money on the other end and allowing that, and then being quiet enough to wait for the answer. The world changed forever when I mastered those principles. So like, I don't know where that lands for you in this moment of the daily tea, but I definitely want you to take away that, man, you're so much more in control of whatever's not working or working. It is confidence. Like, confidence is the key. It's the whole roadmap. It is not having the biggest and best strategy. I don't care who, I don't care what guru told you, I don't care what person told you. It is not having the best strategy. It is not being in the right place at the right time. It is not knowing somebody. It is not having a son or a daughter who helps you all the time. It is not about having the perfect spouse who's in the business with you figuring it out. Nope, not even close. You know what it is? Like 100%? It is your confidence, period. Because I tell you what, you got your confidence like in your back. You got your confidence here as you're doing all the sales things, the process things, the hiring things. I promise you, it is the glue between it all.